Leigh-on-Sea, commonly referred to simply as Leigh, is a town and civil parish in Essex, England, a district of Southend-on-Sea, with its own town council. It is currently the only civil parish within the borough. In 2011, it had a population of 22,509. Leigh-on-Sea is situated on the northern side of the Thames estuary, only a few miles from the open waters of the North Sea to the east, and a similar distance from the Kent coast to the south. The coastal environs of the town feature a nature reserve at Two Tree Island and a centrally located beach adjacent to Bell Wharf. At low tide, Leigh's foreshore has a wide expanse of mud flats and creeks, extending offshore towards the deep water channel of the Thames. Leigh is approximately 40 miles from central London via road and rail networks and is considered part of the London commuter belt. Archaeological finds of pottery and coins from Romano-British era in the locality suggest early settlement. From at least the Saxon period, a hilltop clearing amidst the woodland that covered much of the surrounding area of Essex came to be known as Leigh. A place of minor economic importance at the time of the Norman conquest. A reference to Leigh appears in the Domesday Book survey of 1086. Leigh is a place name element found also in the nearby towns and villages of Hadley, Rayleigh, Hockley and Thundersley. From the late Middle Ages onwards, Leigh evolved from a rustic backwater through eras of increased and diminished maritime trade to form, by the early 20th century, the westernmost suburb of the borough of Southend-on-Sea. Beyond the fishing and trading settlement on the shore of the Thames estuary, a number of farms including Leigh Heath Farm, Leigh Park Farm, Chapman's, Belfairs Farm, Golds, Pickett's, Owls Hall Farm, Wood Farm, Elm Farm, Plastow and Leigh Hall Farm existed. St. Clemens Church was rebuilt in the late 15th century or early 16th century. Although the list of rectors dates back 1248, the fabric of the church is of Kentish ragstone and flint rubble, with a two-door porch constructed of red brick. The medieval structure of the church was added to and altered during the 19th and early 20th centuries. The chancel was extended at the east end in 1872 by C. F. Haywood. Ernest Geldert added the south aisle in 1897, and there were a number of alterations made by Sir Charles Nicholson in 1913 and 1919. The tower at the west end was a prominent landmark for shipping on the Thames estuary, and the building contains a good selection of stained glass dating from between the 18th and 20th centuries. The building is Grade II * listed by Historic England, and a key factor for this rating was the sympathetic nature of the 19th and 20th century additions. Leigh Hall, a medieval manor house demolished in the early 20th century, was once situated near the ancient eastern manorial boundary of Leigh and Prittlewell. The house and a trackway leading from it to a church on a nearby clifftop predated the center of modern-day Leigh-on-Sea and its primary commercial thoroughfare Broadway. Robert Eden, who became rector of Leigh in 1837, demolished the previous rectory and commissioned a large new one, which was completed in 1838. One quarter of the building remains today as Leigh Library, as the other wings of the building were demolished by Southend Corporation when they acquired the building and the surrounding land. The rectory and grounds occupied a 6-acre site, and the work carried out by Eden included the construction of Rectory Grove as a public right-of-way, which replaced an existing cliff-top path called Chess Lane, and a second trackway between Elm Road and the springs situated near the top of Billet Lane. In the 11th century, Leigh was a marginal community of homesteads. The Domesday Book records 5 smallholders above the water who do not hold land, who were probably engaged in fishing, thus giving Leigh a claim to nearly 1,000 years of activity in the fishing industry. The main seafood catch from Leigh fishing boats has always been shellfish and whitebait. Many of the local trawlers were at one time Bollies, and 2 of Old Leigh's pubs, the Peter Boat and Ye Olde Smack, owe their names to types of local fishing boat. Local fish merchants land, process and trade a wide range of supplies daily, including shrimps, lobster, crab, sea bass, haddock, cod and mackerel, cockles, whelks, mussels and oysters. The riverside settlement of Old Leigh, or the Old Town, is historically significant. It was once on the primary shipping route to London. From the Middle Ages until the turn of the 20th century, Old Leigh hosted the settlement's market square and high street, and the village was in decline as an anchorage and port of call. With the advent of the railway line from London to Southend during the mid-19th century, much of the Old Town was demolished to accommodate its passage, and new housing and streets began to be built on the ridge of hills above Thay.